is up, guys? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast. Locked In Podcast here. I'm Steve Ushler, your host for the evening. And joined alongside me is a very special guest to the Locked In Podcast. He's been here before. What's going on, bro? Marius Raffaele. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, brother? How are you, man? Thanks for having me, bro. Hey, good evening, Locked In Nation. How's everyone?
I'm glad you can be here, man. Glad you're in the building with me tonight, man. You know, we're going to dive into this personal finance part 2 segment, man. So I'm glad you could be here, man, because I know that, especially when it comes to saving and a little bit about credit, man, you're, I wouldn't say an expert, but man, you have a lot of knowledge to offer the viewers. So glad you're back in the building, man. Just want to make a little disclaimer that, you know, my co-host George Mantai cannot be here tonight. I did post this on Facebook, so if you guys haven't seen it, if you're tuning in now, George cannot make it. Unfortunately, he was on call for his job that he currently works for. So obviously, you know, money's important, man. So he's not here tonight. He's working, but the show still goes on. But we're back in the building, so for that, we'll give it Don DeMarco. Back in the building, guys. And as we kind of talked about, you know, if you guys haven't seen part 1 of the Money Finance series, it premiered, I believe, on April 29th, 2021. So it was a few months ago. It was episode 32. You know, we kind of touched on the very, very basics of credit, the importance of credit, importance of saving, and we touched very, very minimum on investing. So tonight we're going to go a little bit more in depth on the credit side, a little bit more in depth on the credit management. We'll touch on some of what we kind of touched on before, just as a little refresher, just as a little reminder. We'll get a little bit more in depth with savings. Mario is very, very key here. So I got some good questions for Marius tonight, and you know, I'll be able to share his answers with you guys of you know, his experience with saving money. And then I'm going to kind of wrap up. I have a little bit more knowledge in Marius with this, but in the investment side of it, we're going to mainly focus on asset allocation. There's no seriously optimal asset allocation when it comes to investing. It kind of depends on your risk. So we're going to talk about all that. Want to make a quick disclaimer as well. If you guys saw in the promotions, me and Marius are in no way licensed financial advisors. Everything we are offering you guys tonight is based off of our personal experience. So just want to make that quick disclaimer.
Yep, I better not see any lawsuits.
Yeah, so no lawsuits on this him, but everything's from personal experience. I do promise you we will be offering some sound advice though. So we are going to hop into it tonight, guys, and we're glad to be back. Honestly, this is just part 2, so we're gonna have a lot of different things going on here. Maybe parents will come on another one here, but there's gonna be a lot of parts to this. We're eventually going to we'll get even more in depth with investing because there's so much you can talk about. We'll get into in depth with real estate investing. We'll bring some people on that actually, you know, have personal experience with that, not just knowledge of it, but that's going to be really exciting because I know real estate investing now more than ever is one of the hottest topics when it comes to investing. You know, having rental properties, having passive income. Very, very critical. So, guys, we're going to hop into it. Before we hop into it, as always, guys, there are 3 things you have to do. Number 1, if you like our content, spread the word about our podcast. You can share, you can comment or share on our public page on Facebook. You can literally just tell people about our IG pages, our Facebook pages. On Facebook, we're just known as the Locked In Podcast. On IG, you can catch us at our username, _locked_in_podcast. You know, on IG, we have a lot of cool stuff. We have a website as well. You can find the link to that in our link tree on Instagram. A lot of cool stuff there. And then if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on Facebook, smash that like button if you like our content. On YouTube, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to turn notifications on because we go live every single week, whether it's a Thursday, it's usually Thursday, possibly a Wednesday, possibly a Friday, and you don't want to miss it. Number 2, if you have any insight to offer this podcast, whether you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook, comment down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll post some of the comments from the live stream up into the actual chat. You're going to see it live on the screen when some comments kind of come in. And then also, if you do want to call in, if we do have adequate time, as you kind of see down below here, we have a little comment in the live stream to request to call onto the show. So if we have adequate time, maybe we'll bring you on as well. And the final step, number 3, just sit back, relax, enjoy the podcast, guys. It's 2021. Be true and be you. Appreciate time. Appreciate life. All right, guys. So without further ado, the topic has arrived, per se. So I think how we're going to kind of start this is we'll start out with the credit side, give a little bit of a refresher of the importance, the factors that kind of affect your credit, and then we will also dive a little bit more in depth of some critical things you can do to manage your credit. So with credit, there are some main things that kind of, just jumping into it, they kind of affect your credit. I would say the most important, and I'm sure you could kind of agree with this, is paying on time and paying the full balance each month. Very, very critical when it comes to credit. And I don't think there's anything more important to you, just kind of on-time payments.
That's one of the most important. When you actually look at your credit report, they actually tell you the way they judge your credit score. I think they have like a guideline, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 1 is on-time payments. And that's kind of what screwed me up a little bit in the beginning, prior. I didn't know much about credit back in the day. I didn't really start getting into credit maybe until 4 years ago, because my credit score wasn't all that good. But throughout the course of using my credit card and making online purchases, buying stuff, and making my payments on time, I was able to gradually get that credit score up into, I think my credit score is now like a 730. So the goal is to get into the excellence range, which I think is like a 760 or a 770, depending on which company you look at your credit score for. But yeah, making on-time payments is that's key. Even if you can't pay whatever the balance is, even if you can't pay it in full, at the very least, make the minimal payment. So that way you're putting something on there, because if you miss a payment, if you're late on your payments constantly, that's going to affect your credit score. It's going to hurt you in the long run, and that score is going to go down. And the reason why you want to have a good score is because if you want to buy a good house, not a good house, I misspoke. If you want to buy a house, you need to have good credit in order to, get a good down payment on it. Maybe if you want to buy a car, you want to put a down payment on a car. Well, if they see that you got a very crappy credit score, you're going to be paying out of your ass. So credit is very important. Whatever the balance is, make sure you pay it on time. If you can't pay it in full, at the very least, make the minimum payment. So that way you're putting something on it, and then hopefully you can get the whole thing paid down the line.
You're absolutely right, man. It's kind of like Mario just said there. If you can't pay the full balance for whatever reason, you should always, I do kind of want to stress that you guys should always pay the full balance no matter what. So you don't,
right.
You're not racking up any interest per se. But if for whatever reason you can't pay the full balance, make sure you get that minimum payment in. It's very, very critical, because at least if you get the minimum payment, you're keeping the payments on time. And then, maybe a month down the line, maybe you can finally pay off the full balance, or 2 months down the line, for whatever reason, if you fell on hard times. But make sure you get that minimum payment in, because
right.
If you don't, it's going to affect your credit significantly. I can actually pull the numbers on what I know I talked about it before, on what it plays such a large percentage in how your credit is affected. And honestly, there's a lot of things. On-time payments is one of multiple, but it's definitely the most critical. I think it makes up 60%. 60% is literally of your credit score is made up through that. So make sure that you get your payments on time, guys. That there's nothing that will affect your credit score greater. And then, as you kind of said there, my credit score actually just went up, I think 5 points, or now instead of 770, which is, it's in the excellent range. It's not 800, but 770. So it's in excellent.
Show off.
Another thing that kind of affects your credit big time is your oldest line of credit. You can't really help that. It depends on whenever you opened up the credit, your first credit card. I'm actually going to stress a little bit about this when I talk about credit management, but ultimately your oldest line of credit is another factor that affects yours. Mine is just, I think, considered average, because of the fact that, I think I opened up my first credit card in 2013, 2014, but they still consider that average. It's not a long time. Your recent inquiries definitely makes it up as well. New accounts, your So this is a big one as well, your credit usage percentage. So if you have 25,000 in credit and you're using 5,000, you're using 20% of your credit. The lower your credit utilization rate is, the higher your credit score is going to be. If you're using 1% compared to 5% or 20%, then you're going to, if you're using 1%, that affects your credit score pretty significantly. But here's the thing, even if you put, like, say you use 20% of your credit in one shot, if you pay that $5,000 off next month and you don't carry a balance, it's not really going to matter anyway. Actually, that will improve your credit because it shows responsibility. The fact that you were able to put that on your thing, you were able to put it on your credit card and pay it off, is critical. So the things with credit is just, like, people obviously, it's just a piece of plastic and you honestly get something for it. So that's the thing. People kind of use it as like monopoly money in a way. You use it, you swipe this little piece of plastic and then you get something in return. But, if you don't already have that money to spend in your bank account, the rule of thumb is don't use your credit card for it. If you can't pay that balance off in 30 days, don't use it. Like, obviously hard times happen to everybody, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic that just happened last year, so worst case scenario, if you are throwing something on there that you can't pay right away, get that minimum payment in kind of as you suggested.
Yes, and one more thing, another thing that can affect the credit score is, for example, if you're in collections, like say you went to the hospital, like, there's an old medical bill laying around, you never paid it off or whatnot, they've sent that over to collections. If it gets sent over to collections, you definitely want to make sure you get that taken care of, because if it stays on there, that's going to lower your credit score. So what you want to do is you want to reach out to whatever collection agency that debt is with, and work out some sort of agreement with them. Maybe get on a payment plan. You probably don't have to pay off that whole thing right there and then, but explain to them who you are and whatnot, and try to see if you can get on a payment agreement. And that way, each month you're paying that off and off. So that way, once the whole thing is paid off, that collections falls off your report. And then that's going to massively affect your credit score. I mean, if you're in collections, that can mean the difference between being in good credit or being an excellent or being in bad or being in fair. Like, it can really, really mess it up. So if you're in collections, make sure you get that taken care of as soon as possible so it doesn't affect you down the line.
That's a very, very good point, man. Great insight there. Honestly, yeah, you're completely right, dude. You can honestly jump two different types of standings. You could jump from bad to good just by getting out of collections, which is critical. Make sure you follow up. Make sure you stay on top of it. Make sure you're monitoring your credit regularly. Have a plan ultimately, because if you're monitoring, you'll see that hold on there, and you'll see that there's something in collections that needs to be handled and taken care of. Very, very important. Also, just going to kind of break down the numbers, the general rule of thumb when it comes to the different standings with credit. Usually anywhere from 300 to 620 is considered bad. Anywhere from 620 to 700 is considered fair. Anywhere from about 700 to 760 or 770 is considered good. And anywhere from 760/770 to 850 is considered excellent. It's usually a top tier rule of thumb, guys. So, if once you get into the 700s, you can qualify for most things. Once you get in the good range, you can qualify for good loans on a car, kind of like you said, with a home, with a mortgage. You get, if you have solid credit, even if you don't have a lot of money, you get the best interest rates, right? When you're going to apply for a down payment, when you're applying for a home loan, and you put a down payment down, you're going to get a better interest rate. And better for interest rates, obviously, is lower. You want to lower as low as you can get. You qualify for some of the best loans, the best rates when you have great credit. So everything starts with credit in a way. You start building your credit, everything starts there, and then it kind of goes with saving money and then branching out and investing your money. It's a wheel, guys. It's literally a wheel, and we're just or it's like a tree. You're branching out. You start with credit. You build your credit up. And to anybody who honestly doesn't trust themselves and you don't have a credit card yet, start out with a very, very simple card. Start out with a secured card. The first card I got in 2013 was a platinum secured card through Capital One. It was a MasterCard. I think it had $225 on it or something. It's like a max credit limit. Start out with something small, and then as you feel comfortable with trusting yourself, you can get a larger credit limit. I think my credit limit in total is about $35,000 or $40,000, something like that. But yeah, as you start to get more responsible with your credit, you can branch out and start opening up more cards. And that's another thing I want to talk about even before credit management. There's a lot of different credit cards you can get. The main three are credit cards that offer cash back, credit cards that offer points, and credit cards that offer miles. So cash back cards are, I'll go through some of the ones I have actually. I have a Capital One Saver card. Basically, it's good for entertainment, food, like eating out. Like if you're going to grocery store purchases, you can get certain percentages of cash back. Certain retailers, certain vendors will get you good rewards, but there's a lot of cash back cards. Ultimately, what this does is if you use this card, you can literally Google like what the benefits of that card, what vendors get you higher cash back percentages. Say one of them is like shopping at Sears or Sprint or whatever it is, or ShopRite for whatever reason. If they offer better cash back, you're going to want to tend to use those vendors more, right? Or certain commodities, certain goods will get you higher cash back.
Right. You want to take advantage of their perks.
Yes. So I'm actually a very, very big advocate for credit card use. When I was younger, I would, you get that mindset that credit cards are bad. They're actually not. If you can manage your money effectively, credit cards are actually great, for everyday expenses. If you already have the money in your bank account, you're going to spend it anyway, throw it on the credit card, then just pay it off, get the rewards, whether it's a miles card or a cash back card. Cash back cards essentially works like, I actually had to take my car to a mechanic last year, and I spent over a G in repairs. And when I actually looked, I had about $300 in cash rewards, like cash back rewards. That just goes to show if I would have paid that straight in cash, or I would have paid that straight in, or I would have just threw that right on my debit card, that's $300 I just lost out on. Now, not everything you buy or purchase is going to generate that type of cash back reward, but that's just an example. That's a very, very extreme example, but it's an example of how, I would have lost out on $300. It was like $330. I would have lost out on $333. You could literally use $300 to go take a trip somewhere. It's like insane, like $300 something. I'm like, that's just how cashback reward cards work. So honestly, find out what works for you. The Saver card honestly appealed to me for a number of reasons, but that was one of the cashback cards that I have, and it appealed to me. There's also miles cards. So check and see, cards that have just for, some cards will have bonus fees when you first open up a card. So I have a I think it's a Capital One Venture card. Basically, the first three, what was it? I think it was the first $300 you spend, or maybe it was $500 you spend, you get 50,000 miles. That's equivalent to, I think, about $500 or whatever. You got to figure out how the miles work and stuff, but it was like equivalent to $500. If you're already going to spend $500, like, you might as well just get the card and then you rack up the miles. And like now, literally, that money's just sitting there for when I take a trip somewhere to fly places. Like, that's how miles work. You got to figure out, like, the better the card, the more miles you're going to get per dollar that you spend. So, some cards have annual fees. The Venture card, there's different types of cards. There's a Venture card, and then there's a Venture One card. There's a Saver card, and then there's a Saver One card. So usually the ones that have one in front of them for the Capital One cards, there's no annual fee. If they don't have a one in front of them, they might have like a $99 annual fee or $100 annual fee. But if you're going to get good use out of the card, it's not bad. But points, miles, cashback rewards, if you can use credit cards, and I learned this from the great Ramit Sethi, who wrote a really, really solid book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Highly recommend it. His name is Ramit, Ramit, Sethi, Sethi. Really, really solid finance guru. He'll tell you credit cards are very, very important. Use them. Just manage your money effectively. But there's a lot of different cards out there, guys. Get familiar with them. Do your research, find out what works for you, and use them. You can manage your money correctly. Credit cards are actually very, very beneficial.
Exactly. Make sure you utilize them correctly, and make sure you pay them off on time. Like, that's the key. Don't just open up a card for nothing. Like, the limit is $3,000. I'm going to go out there and I got $3,000 in free cash, and I'm just going to spend. And then when it comes time to pay that bill, you're like, oh crap, like I don't got the money to pay it off. Like, whatever you spend, just make sure that you pay it off, because if you don't, that will come back to bite you. And that's why so many people have issues with credit. It's they spend, but they don't pay. And that's the problem. So if you know how to utilize the credit cards correctly, hey, more power to you. And going back to what you said in regards to those, I was actually thinking about getting a credit card with the flyer points with the mileage, because eventually what I want to do is I want to travel. After I save my money, I want to travel. I want to go out to places. Well, if I have all this miles saved up on my card, now what you said, if you spend like what $2,000, you get 500 miles in credit. So there goes the trip to Miami, or there goes the trip to Vegas. All paid for by the card. So yeah, if you can find a card that and use it to your advantage, more power to you. But just again, the key is make sure you make that payment on time, because if you don't, I assure you it will come back to bite you. And just one more thing before I let you start. My credit was actually when I first started, I think it was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. My credit score was actually like a 660. It wasn't really, really good at all. And then through years of saving, like I haven't missed a payment in like 4 years. Like I've paid the full balance on time every single month. I haven't had one missed payment in 4 years. And then gradually throughout the last 4 years, that credit score went from like a 680 to like a 730. So it jumped up by 50 points. So eventually you will see the benefits. It's just a process. You just have to allow time. If you're patient, I will tell you that you will eventually succeed. So whatever the balance is, just make sure that you pay it off. I can't stress that enough. I mean, that's how people get into issues in the first place. So whatever card works for you, that's great. Just make sure that you're responsible and that everything is getting paid.
Facts, bro. Facts. Definitely facts, brother. And I think that's honestly the critical thing. Everybody wants the flashy quickness. They don't want to be patient. Money, it's honestly, it's a vehicle, guys. If you literally, you give it proper, you give it proper care, you give it proper gasoline, you literally take care of the car, you change
take
the
it to the mechanic, and every time something comes up, it's like those people where the check engine light comes on, you're like, I don't got nothing to worry about. I don't hear any noises or anything like that. And then 2 months later, the car leaves you in the middle of the road. You're like, oh, wait, what the hell just happened?
I know a couple people that could refer to in a literal sense, but nah, you're absolutely right, man.
I hope they had AAA.
Yeah, they're gonna need it. Yeah, no, it's definitely with time and patience, you can definitely you can build up your.
Yeah, it's like the good old saying goes: "Good things come to those who wait."
Yep, exactly. Hey, you're right, man. And I think that one of my top I guess advice things I would say when it comes to credit management is, and this can actually be applied to savings as well, live within your means. Literally, live within your means. Number one rule to successful personal finance is to live within your means. And you kind of learn this as you kind of get older. If it's not something, think of, you know how the mindsets are great. Think of, we'll get into savings shortly. Think of if you say you have a good job right now. Think of if you had a job working at like McDonald's. Would you be spending the money that you're spending? You see, when we start making more money, that's the thing. Most people, they'll be working, they get out of college, they were working like maybe not a crappy job, but they were working some type of retail job. And then what happens is they get a real big girl or big boy job. They start making more money. What do? They up their expenses. See, if they were able to live at the expense ratio when they were working that other job and save that money, just think of how many doors that could open for people. Now, I want to stress that I'm not trying to tell you that you need to live a boring, monotonous life. You should definitely have fun. This is where we'll talk about budgeting in a little bit, but budgeting is very, very critical. You should always budget money aside to have fun, to enjoy yourself, or the things that you like to do. You should always keep a certain amount of money. I would say, ideally, even I know this is more on the savings side, but actually, I'll save this for when we do go to savings. But live within your means. It applies to credit as well. Live within your means. Make sure that you don't throw things on your credit card that you can't afford. If you know you can't pay that balance, I know tough times happen where you can only pay the minimum payment, but ideally, if you're in a good standing, don't throw something on your credit card that you know you can't pay off in 30 days. If you can't pay that off in 30 days, don't throw it on the credit card. Literally, if you don't make enough money to pay that off and you don't have enough, you have too many bills, you know you're not going to be able to pay it off, don't throw it on the credit card. Simple as that. Another one is, I would say, this is actually an interesting one. Don't close your old accounts. So some people might just see an account there. They don't use it. I have some credit cards I've never used. What it does is don't close those old accounts. You want to know why? Because remember we said one of the factors that affects your credit is the long-term credit history. If I close the first account that I opened in 2013 right now, guess what? Now say I didn't open up another credit card till 2015. Now my credit history has shortened because I closed that old account. You want a longer credit history. You want them lenders to see that because it shows long-term responsibility on your end. You want to keep those old accounts open. Even if you're not using them, it doesn't hurt. Nothing happens to you. If you're paying annual fees, maybe a little bit different, but ideally you don't want to close your old accounts. You just want to keep them open and, keep your credit history, keep a long credit history. It's good track record for lenders. And ultimately, say those credit cards have an extra $5,000 credit limit on them each. Like then it's like $10,000, $15,000. It's good to have that because that means it's a higher credit. You have more credit available and you're using less. Your credit utilization rate is smaller, which is actually good for your credit score. So that's a little personal advice that I would offer. Monitor your bank accounts, check your credit report regularly, and kind of like you said with collections, fix your mistakes, guys. Yeah. Literally, money is not to be played with. I always say this statement: money is not everything, but money affords you a lot of great things in life. Money is not everything, but it's highly important. It opens a lot of doors. And money, we live in a society that is focused on money. You need money to open up a lot of doors in life.
Capitalism.
Yeah, it's the society that we live in, guys. You can't. You can. Who says money's not important? Money sucks. Broke people. Let's be realistic. It's broke people. I mean, people who literally don't they spend above their means and stuff, and then they go, money sucks. Money's not important. Well, I mean, that's a poverty mindset. I always like to say that the poverty mindset is to think that you'll never be able to achieve high wealth. That's, you're going to be stuck in your same circumstances. That's a poverty mindset. And then the abundance mindset means that, that anything is reachable, like through patience and time and, growing your money responsibly. Abundance mindset, anything's achievable. We already talked about this. Make on-time payments. Keep your debt level low. So, for instance, I have student loans, as do you, bro, and I know you do as well. So I'm not saying don't go buy property or buy equity when you have student loans, but just try to pay off your student loans as much as you can. If you can afford more than your standard monthly payment, put more money towards it. Say your payment's $300, and then you're making the payment. I think this is a good example where you pay $500 a month.
$500 a month, yes.
If you do that, it's compound interest, right? You're paying that extra $200 each month. You'll substantially lower the amount of loans. People don't even realize you could cut your time frame off by 5 years by doing that. If you're paying double what the loan is, you can literally cut your time in half. It's crazy. People don't even realize paying an extra $100, $200 towards their loans each month can literally substantially reduce the amount of time it's going to take to pay that loan, which is less time that you can be debt free.
Yeah, and it also increases your credit score. The more on-time payments you make, the better off you're going to be. And the more payments you make towards your loans, the lower the loan is going to go, and then eventually you'll have that whole thing paid off. And just to go back on the credit thing real quick, I check my score every time I make my payment. So I make my payment, I think, towards the end of each. Actually, no, it's to the beginning. It's towards the middle of each month. That's when my payment is due. So I look at it online. I see what the balance is. I pay it off. And then as soon as I'm done making the payment, as soon as I see that confirmation going through that, hey, look, thank you for making your payment, blah, blah, all that good stuff. Once I take care of that, I then go and I check my credit score just to see if there's been any updates or anything of that nature. So I guess one advice I would give is whenever you make your payment, just leave out a few minutes and just check out that credit score just to see what's going on, see if your score went up or maybe if it went down or if it just stayed the same. Always monitor it because you never know. So you always want to check it each month because you just never know.
Exactly. You want to monitor your credit. You want to monitor your bank account. A good rule of thumb is to check it. If you can check it freely, like I have Capital One, you can literally go to credit. You can use the Credit Wise feature at the bottom. I like to check my credit score, once a week. Once a week because at least on credit wise, they update your score once a week after 7 days. So I like to check it every week. But also, make sure you're checking your bank accounts and your credit card accounts regularly, because you want to make sure that nothing fraudulent is going on. That's another key thing, because things fraudulent, the sooner you catch a fraudulent charge, the more likely you're able to resolve it. To something, you can get that fixed as long as you catch that pretty early. A lot of times, a good credit card company will notify you if something's out of the norm anyway. They'll call you, they'll notify you. If someone's trying to open up a loan under your name, or they somehow they got access to your credit card, they're buying fraudulent things. A lot of times you'll get notified, but just in case you don't, best to kind of keep up on your bank accounts and your credate card accounts.
I know. I check my bank account every week. My bank account I check every week, and then when I make my payments on my card, I check my score at least once every month. Sometimes I may check my score maybe 2 or 3 times a month, but usually on average, it's about once every month. But no, my bank, I don't fuck around when it comes to my money. I check my bank like literally every Friday, especially when I get direct deposit pay, because fraudulent crime is actually going up. These scammers out here, they're getting your social security number off the deep web and shit like that. So like they're out here selling it to the public, and then next thing you know, someone's stealing your stuff, buying things in your name. And if you're not checking these things, you may not be aware of it. And then when you go to the dealership to buy the car, or when you go to the title company to get a house, they're going to run your score, and they're going to say like, oh, well, sir, your credit score is down at the bottom. Like, we're seeing all these fraudulent claims on here. So you definitely want to be mindful of that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to, if you're going to close on a property, we'll get into real estate investing eventually too, guys, which is going to be great. But yeah,
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, man, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Real estate is something that I definitely want to get into. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
Absolutely, man. And real estate investment is a key to financial freedom, because we start investing in real estate. You eventually, you have someone pay off the mortgage. Once the mortgage is paid off, you start turning a profit. And guess what? Then you're making passive income. You start doing that. And you use some of that profit to go buy other properties. It's never ending. So I think we touched on some good portions of credit there. Why don't we move over to the savings portion, man? I know that you're very, very good with this, mainly from the fact that when you were making very, very, very minimal money, not going to disclose the exact amount, but when you were first out of college and you were making very, very minimal money, man, I had seen you like save up a ton of money just off of a small dollar per hour amount. Like it's crazy. Like you would have never thought that you were making that type of money. But I will say, man, what are a couple like useful tips maybe that you can offer people on saving money? Because I think saving money, credit's obviously very important, but saving money is a struggle for a lot of people. What can you offer? Like what type of advice would you say maybe that you like steps maybe you took when you were making very, very minimal money and you started saving? What tips would you say?
Well, I mean, when I was working at Acme as a seafood clerk, I was, I started off at making $8 an hour, and then gradually throughout the few years, it went up to $9 an hour, which in the day and age, that's like considered like that's like nothing. That's like well even below poverty means. But I was a teenager at the time. I had just graduated high school, and I was like getting out there into the market and things like that. But yeah, I mean the best. Number one is you have to live below your means. So you have to budget accordingly. Like, for example, if you're making $1,000 a month, let's just use a hypothetical. You're making $1,000 a month, but you're spending $1,000 a month. Well, you're broke at the end because you didn't save jack shit. However, if you're making $1,000 a month and you're only spending, $500, now you've saved that $500. You put that $500 in a savings, and then the next month, you're making $1,000. You're spending only $500. Now that $500 becomes $1,000, and then the next month you keep doing that, and then the next thing you do that, and then sooner or later you have all this money saved up, and then you put it into a savings account. So that way, if it ever comes time for a rainy day, if there ever comes like a massive expense, you have money there saved up that you can use, to take care of those expenses. But living below your means is that is so critical, man. Because a lot of people be like, oh, I made $4,000, $5,000 this month. Yeah, but if you're spending $4,000, $5,000 this month as well, what did you save? Like you're not really doing anything. You're just basically like that's just living to survive. So obviously, like living below your means is probably, I would say, like one of the most important assets. And also, get rid of like things that you don't need. Like for example, if you don't watch TV and you have like a cable bill or whatnot, get rid of that cable bill. Like buy an antenna. Buy a Fire Stick or something like that. Like get rid of that cable bill. If there's other things, like if there's other things that you don't use, get rid of those old bills. You don't need them. Jot down a list of things that you don't actually use, because you might not realize it, but those things add up. If one thing is costing $50 and then the next thing is costing $60, you're like, well, that's really nothing. Like I can. You're not realizing that eventually, like, it comes like that eventually adds up. It comes back to bite you. So whatever you're not using, make sure you cut that out. It's going to help you out in the long run, and it's going to overall help you save money.
Absolutely, man. Fire. That's definitely some sound advice, man. Living below your means is obviously critical.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, yeah, it's like you said, cut those little minimum bills out. Like, you don't think that they add up, but then if you actually put together,
that's how people get in trouble. That's how people get in trouble. They don't think about it. Like, that's the thing. They don't think about it. They're like, oh, well, if I spend $5 here, or if I spend 50 here or whatnot, but like when you like actually add it up at the end of the month, you're like, holy shit, I actually spent like $600 on all this crap. Like, what the hell happened? And now that's $600 that you can't use. Whereas if you had saved it, say you wanted to take a vacation or whatnot, you're like, oh, no problem. That costs $400. Yeah, I'll take care of that. I got money saved up. But people don't think about it, because they're just like they don't see the long-term investment. They see short-term. They're like, oh, I want to get it, but they're not looking at the consequences that it's going to affect them long-term. So people need to be smart about it.
We're a short-term society. We look at the short term a lot of times. I've been guilty of it myself, to be honest. We get wrapped up in the guilty pleasures of short-term satisfaction. We are a society that thrives on instant gratification. But unfortunately, it's okay to have a little bit of instant gratification, but you need to save a little bit for the long-term vision.
I mean, listen, like if you need to treat yourself, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you want to treat yourself once in a while, like that's absolutely fine. Like I'm not talking about be a cheapskate all the time or whatnot. If you want to treat yourself to something once in a while, absolutely, you go do that. At the end of the day, you have to live your life. I mean, what's the point of being cheapskate and stuff like that? But you also have to be smart with how you spend your money. And a lot of people, don't do that.
And have a why. Why are you trying to save money? You have to have a reason of why you're trying to save money. Maybe it's you're trying to buy a house. Maybe it's you're trying to buy a new car. Maybe it's you're trying to travel. Maybe you're trying to, whatever the reason is, you have to have a why, obviously, right? Because, why are we saving money, if we don't have a reason why to save money, so, you have to have a why. And then you also just need to go, you need to budget as well. You need to, so this is something I'm sure you could definitely agree on. You have to pick and choose where you spend your money. It's okay to enjoy yourself, but say you're eating out every, like 3-4 times a week. Say you're ordering, clothes online. Say you're going out on the weekends, you're drinking, you're going out to eat on the weekends, you're ordering in on the weekdays. You are whatever your guilty pleasures are. You can't spend your money everywhere. You got to find out what's important to you and what you can cut. So I've actually learned this from the great Ramit Sethi as well in his book. You have to, when you set up a budget, find the things you absolutely want to have. Maybe it's you like having coffee every single day. Maybe it's you like ordering out food, or maybe it's like you like going out on the weekends or whatever the case may be. Maybe you like traveling or whatever the case may be. It's going to be hard to save money if you're spending money on everything, but find out what you really enjoy, like you really, really enjoy, and find out things that like you can live without. And you got to cut costs in those corners and spread your money around. Because then if you're spending like money in all different areas and you don't have enough to save, some people can spend money in all those areas and they have such a large salary that they can save. And they can put money into their investment accounts, and they can invest in real estate because maybe they make 6 figures a year or whatever the case may be, or maybe they make $1 million a year. I don't know, whatever the hell they make. But if maybe you're not in that situation, well, then you need to the best thing you can do is you can set up a budget. And I've already gone through this in episode 32. There are tons of Microsoft Excel spreadsheets that you can use to do this. If you don't want to write it down on paper, go to old fashioned paper. If you literally, I will link some below in the YouTube and the Facebook video after this podcast ceases, after it's over. But guys, there's so many great budgets and like templates you can use. All you do is you open up Excel and you go to the template section up top. Actually, let me see what it kind of looks like. I'm not going to share my screen because I have some work stuff up, so it's kind of confidential. But I will find my screen's a little bright, so bear with me a second. I will actually find the steps. So I'm clicking on File up here. It's a little slow. But I want to
I think are these the ones that you've shown me before too?
Yeah, there's so
they're very very helpful.
So literally when you go to File and you're first opening up Excel, you go to New. And when you go to New, you're going to see down below Online Templates. I believe I have Microsoft. I think it's the most recent one. But any of them should still have. Even George had like the. He is a lot more advanced now. But I remember when he had his older laptop, man, he had a very very old laptop, and even then, they were still able to pull some templates. So yeah, right here I'm seeing like academic calendars, blue balance sheets, literally simple invoices, weekly chore schedules, to literally budgets, and you can create a budget. And literally, there are so many good ones where you can literally just plug in. All you do is you go to File. You just go to Excel. You open up a new document, and then before you actually open up, how you click blank. Instead of clicking blank, go down to the templates and scroll down. You can find all different types of categories. Open up a budget, guys. You can literally put your monthly income in.
Yeah, and then I didn't know about that. That was thanks to you. I was like, oh wow, like I had no idea that stuff even existed. So pay attention, guys. Because that's like very, very useful information because, those tools can help you, down the line.
Yeah, 20, 30 years ago, people didn't have these tools.
No, right? they would bring out a blank sheet of paper, be like, okay, here's my expenses. Here's what I'm doing. Okay, like where can I get to? Whereas now everything's all digital.
Yeah, and exactly. What I would do is I would go through your mobile, you should always have the app of your bank on your phone. You should be doing everything electronically. It's the easiest way to track everything, not paper receipts. You should literally, there's an app called, you don't even need the app. You can honestly go through your bank, but there is a good app called Truebill that can track all your bills. If you don't want to use that, just go through your actual bank app. Like for instance, I have Citizens Bank. Scroll through and do a thorough look through what your monthly expenses look like, what your subscriptions are that are hitting, say you're paying student loans or you're paying rent, whatever's going through your phone, everything that you're paying, figure out what your bills are and plug them into the budget. So like for instance, I'm actually just going to pull up, I'm not going to share my screen, but I'll show you. I actually have a budget actually pulled up and prepared for this. So on mine here, I actually will share my screen on this one because I'm actually up.
Yeah, maybe that might help the people. Maybe if they see it.
So this is not my expenses. This is just an example that I put together. Give me 1 second to pull this through. All right. Share screen here. Let me share my screen here. All right, man. Can you see my screen here?
Yep. It says personal monthly budget.
Yeah. Just say for an example, you're making $5,000 a month. It might be on the steep end for a lot of people. So you're making $5,000, and then you also and then over here, this actually this subtracts whatever your expenses are, and you'll see your expenses. They kind of total down here at the bottom. 1,314. Look at all the little categories. This is just an Excel monthly budget that is kind of pulled up, and I just kind of, I think this would be beneficial for everybody. You can do your projected monthly income, your actual monthly income, and then down here, this is the critical portion. You can plug all your expenses. Say your phone bill is $76 a month. I don't have utilities or anything in here, but you can put your gas, electric, water, sewer, cable. This is all housing. It falls under that. Got entertainment over here. Look at all the subscriptions: Netflix, Hulu. for our purposes, I put this one. I thought it would be funny. StreamYard, Amazon Prime. All different types of things. I know we've talked about Skillshare before, so I put that in there. Microsoft. Transportation, you got vehicle payments, your car insurance, your fuel. $51 for car insurance might not be realistic, but student loans, say $380 for an example. You got your insurances, life insurance. If you had health, home, other, your taxes, you can literally do your grocery bills per month. Your groceries, dining out. Look at this: coffee, Dunkin', boom, retirement, investments, whatever money you're putting towards your retirement or your investment each month.
Yeah, this is basically like saving money for dummies.
Yeah, for real. I mean, there's no excuses. You can't budget your cash.
Like, it's pretty simple to follow too. You just plug in the numbers of what you're using, and then that will give you a good indication of how much money you're saving or how much money you're spending each month.
Yeah, if they don't have what you want in here, look, you can always do this. You do right click, and you can insert some files. You can insert some numbers, and you can like add your own columns, or say like you wanted to add something else. Say you put like your monthly, like say you go like this, dining out. You can always change the headings, and you want to add like going here each month, maybe traveling, like whatever it is. Like you can always change the headings to your own personal thing. Look, haircuts, medical. I know for girls, hair and nails, clothing, dry, like health club, which is a gym fee. Like organization, whatever you want to add, you can always add things in here. Like, look, you can just you can delete columns. You can insert columns as well. Look at that. Add columns to your own thing. And it's like this thing is so workable for people. Like you can literally just use this. And see, I have the total expenses down here for everything. It just totals all the expenses together. It's totaling, look at all this added in. You can see the Excel formula, it pulls it all up. It's totaling $1,314. And how much did it say I made? $5,000. This is your total balance left over. And then you can put that money towards whatever. Now, $5,000 might be steep for a lot of people. People might not be making $5,000 a month take home. But say you're taking home $3,000. Oh, now look, now you have a difference of $2,000. So, and then like if say you were only making, and yeah, look, now your projected balance is what? Hold up. And you only have $685 left. And if that's the case, then you need to figure out what. So like if you say put whatever that is towards your savings and retirement or your investment accounts. You can literally go say like this, savings. You could add money into there. Like that's how easy it is, guys. And say you say this is not a lot of money. Like I'm not this ain't anything. Find out where you can cut costs, guys. Say you're like, I don't use Netflix anymore. Get rid of that. Oh, like you had $15 in there. Boom. Like find out where you ultimately need to cut costs. Maybe you're spending too much money in groceries. Find out whatever it is, guys. Maybe you get a haircut too often, or whatever the case may be. If your salary can't afford it, and here's the brutal honest truth: if you really still feel like you need all those things and you still can't save money, then you got to work your ass off and start making more money.
You got to stay disciplined, and you have to sacrifice.
Yeah, and if you do need all those things, then guess what? You need to make more money. You need to work your ass off.
If one job is not enough, get a second job. Work Uber, do Lyft, have passive income.
Build your skills. You got to think long term with your employer too. If you're working in a career somewhere, and I'm gonna stop sharing here. But guys, it's just how easy.
That was very helpful, though. That was very helpful.
Yeah, I think that'll help a lot of people with the budgeting side of it. Like these things are doable. You just literally everything's ran through a formula. So as you delete things out, you start to say, okay, now I've made myself instead of $685 a month. Oh, now I'm able to save $1,000 by cutting these things out and stick to it. Also, I would say put like so in there. You saw how there was a bill for dining out and stuff and like going out. Maybe you could put one. Say you like to order things from Amazon, or you like to buy clothing each month. Put a category for clothing. Have money that you can enjoy. Coffee each month. Like maybe going out to drink with your friends. Maybe you want a travel account too. Like I actually have a savings account, and one of them goes towards a home, one goes towards an investment property, and one of them goes through travel. So I actually have a travel fund in my savings account. You can always do that as well. There's ways you can break out your accounts. Guys, just budget. And I know you can say this because, dude, you're used to doing it just from the old pen and paper, right? Just
exactly. That's how. I mean, prior to this, I wasn't too big on technology back in the day. I would just spend everything in cash. I didn't, like I said earlier in the show, I didn't know much about credit. I didn't really start getting into credit till like I would say 2015, 2016. But yeah, I would just write down all my expenses on a sheet of paper. Like, for example, you like to eat out or whatnot. Well, learn how to cook your own food. I mean, that's going to save you money down the line. Um, you Netflix, Hulu, and all that stuff. I mean, cut that out. Get yourself an Amazon Fire Stick or get like a Hulu or one of these streaming sticks or whatnot. Learn how to stream yourself. I mean, you don't like I said earlier, you don't like what the cable bill. If you don't watch all those channels or whatnot, cut that crap out. It's gonna help you out in the long run. And that tool that you showed, that is perfect because that will help out a lot of people. With trying to figure out, okay, here's what my expenses are. Here's how much I need to save. Here's a total. Okay, I'm not saving as much money as I can. Okay, it will give them a good idea what to cut out and what to spend on.
Exactly. I am actually probably in like either part 3 or part 4 of this series. I'm actually going to give you the system that I have set up to automate everything. So instead of having to do things each month, you got certain money that goes right to your savings. You got certain money that goes to your IRA, your investment accounts. You have certain money that goes to pay off all your bills. And like, so obviously certain things, like if I go out and get a haircut, I got to pay my barber straight. Like, it's like he actually does accept Cash App, where I could probably actually get on a thing where I automate some Cash App payments, but like obviously certain bills you're going to pay at the time of the bill. Like if like when I go get my haircut, I pay my barber straight. But you can automate a lot of your bills, and when you set up a system, you're going to be monitoring your money. Maybe I always say to still check your bank accounts and your credit each week, but you'll ultimately just be maybe taking 10 minutes out of your time to like look and see all the transactions that hit. Okay, this hit at this time. If you start to know when all your bills are, you can honestly, and when you get paid, say you get paid bi-weekly or weekly, or maybe some people only get paid monthly. I've heard of that as well. You can kind of adjust your system to however you see fit. And man, when things are automated, it makes everything simple. With a budget, honestly, it starts by going through your bank account. So, I have a Citizens Bank mobile app. I see all my bills that go down there each month. I see,
Yep,
how
I
much
have
I'm
that as
spending.
well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I
That's
check
the
it on
most
my
critical.
phone. I check it on my laptop. I check it on the go. Like that's with me everywhere I go. I highly recommend, at the very least, checking that once a week, or if not once a week, at least maybe once every other week. But I would recommend at least once a week, just so you know where you stand at.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's very, very critical to do that. And then like, yeah, that's going to be the tool you're going to use. When you're going to use to go through your budget, you're going to see what you're spending each month. You'll be like, okay, this is how much my bill is for that. This you can add in all your subscriptions, anything you subscribe to. You can add it right into that budget, and then you find out what you're totally spending each month. And because if you don't know where your money's going, that's why a lot of people like don't even save money. They don't even realize where their money's going, and then they look at like their bills. They're like, wow, I ordered out all those times. Wow, I bought things on Amazon or online all those times, and like you realize that those small things that were only $20 and you do it multiple times a week or per month, they add up. So it's critical to understand where your money is going. That's very, very critical when it comes to saving your money. I would also say, man, like what are some perks would you say that life can afford you when you start to save money and you start to build that safety net and that big bank savings account? What type of luxuries can life afford you, man?
Yeah, I just purchased an Apple MacBook Pro. Got myself the iPhone, which I always wanted to get an iPhone. I had a Galaxy prior to this. I got the iPhone. I had the I think, was it the EarPods, I believe. I was, through saving my money, I was able to buy my car. A few years back. That was one of the reasons why I didn't have a car back in the days, because I didn't know how to save money. Like, I wasn't working, I wasn't making jack shit. Like, I didn't have anything to my name. But then once I gradually started working, and once I saw the value of what money could provide to me, it afforded me to do things. I would go on trips. I've been on, vacations with you, down the shore and stuff like that. So it affords you things that you never thought were possible. It's like you said earlier in the show, if you make money, it opens doors.
For
It
sure.
opens doors. It opens doors. So the more you save, the better off you're going to be. Because let's say you want that nice car. Let's say you want a Mercedes Benz. Well, if you're not saving money, and you don't have a good credit score, how are you going to get it? But if you do have money saved, and let's just say you woke up one day and you're feeling good and you're like, oh, I want to get that Mercedes, You can just go to the dealership. Hey, man, listen, I want that Mercedes. I want the S-Class, the flagship vehicle of Mercedes. If you have money saved and you have a good credit score, boom, you can either pay that car outright, or you can put a down payment, and now you're the new owner of a Mercedes vehicle.
There
So
you go,
saving
man.
money and having money, force things that were not possible before. So, it's up. You just have to put the work in. You have to sacrifice. And it depends. I mean, some people just don't want to sacrifice. They're like, oh, I'm not doing all of that, stuff like that. I'll just live, paycheck to paycheck, week to week. But you have to, sacrifice in order to get what you want. And like I said, good things come to those who wait. If you save money, you're going to be better off financially long term.
Yes, you are, man, and you're right. Opening up doors. I like that. How like you can, like you said, like if you want that Mercedes, you're feeling good one day, you just can go up and buy it. That is the precedent. I think you can compare that to financial freedom. Once you get to a level of financial freedom, say like you own your own company or you have rental properties and you're working a job, and then you got a friend one day who hits you up. Hey, man, you trying to go to Santorini, Greece? Take a week trip.
Bucket list.
Yeah. You go, hey, you trying to go to Santorini? It's like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Boom, swipe the card.
Boom.
I already got the money. And
you
guess
don't
what?
even think about it. You don't even think about it. You're like, yeah, no problem. Here's my card, bro. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, the key is you're not swiping the credit card. You're swiping the debit card. You got the money already ready to go. See, like that's the critical factor. You're swiping a debit card. You're at financial freedom. You're just like, yeah, let's do it. Boom, I'm in. Boom, and you got that type. That is where true freedom comes in. Like you got the freedom to do whatever you want because you already saving your money, and you already have money invested. You got rental property. If you got a nice little investment or like just a nice little financial vehicle made of all different types of things, like investments, money you've saved. Literally, if you get real estate, like investments too. Like I'm not just talking stock market investments, but it's like, or just you do a really, really good job at managing your money. It's like just financial freedom is it's endless, and if you get to that level, honestly, that's a beautiful feeling. See, I'm still I'm young, I'm still not there yet, but man, then if you honestly manage your money correctly, you could retire early. There's so many perks.
Yeah.
You could retire early, like it's crazy. And then like if you have money working for you, it's like that's the best thing that could possibly happen. I have a good question for you, man. Before we actually hop into the investment side, I'm going to talk a little bit on, at least from my personal experience with the asset allocation stuff. Man, a good question. I know we kind of discussed this before the show. How do you maintain the willpower to save money when you're out with your friends, man? I know, because I know you're very, very good at it, man.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Sometimes, if you remember, man, I would not come out with you guys. Like if I knew you guys were going out somewhere to eat, or if you guys were going out to do something, like you're going out to a bar or going out to a club, if I knew I couldn't afford it or if I had to save money that week, I would just tell you straight up, hey, listen, man, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not going to do it. I mean, I'll be more than happy to meet up for maybe a cup of coffee or a walk or something like that. But it all comes back to discipline. You have to set a goal in mind. If your goal, for example, if your goal for this week is to save $500 and you're close to it, say you're at 450 and Friday comes along and your friends hit you up, hey, we're about to go to the club, we're about to pop bottles all night, the entry fee is like $50 to get in. Do you want to come? Yeah, you look back at that goal, you're like, man, I'm trying to save $500 for the week, man. I'm only $50 away. So do I stay inside or do I go to the club or whatnot? And for me, like it's simple. Like I'm staying in, I'm saving my money because I'm working towards a long term. The club is always going to be there, man. But it's difficult to make money and save money and stuff like that. So you just have to be disciplined, and you just have to know when to do it. Like 1 week you stay home, and then the next week you go out, and you just keep doing it like that. But it's hard. It is hard. I will tell you that though, man, because nobody wants to stay inside. That's just the reality of life. So, but when you have to sacrifice. That's the best thing I can say. You have to sacrifice. You have to look at that goal and be like, all right, cool. I'm staying inside, but I know that in my mind I have a greater goal in mind that I'm going to, try to be successful one day. And then once I get to that stage, then it's, fuck it. At that point, I can do whatever I want. I can go to the club every other night if I really wanted to, because you'll have that abundance. You'll have that, as you said earlier, that financial freedom. Now you can go on these trips. Now you can go to the club and not give a shit because you'll have all this money stashed and lined up. So you just have to be disciplined. That's the best way I can answer that question. You have to sacrifice.
Agreed, man. 100% agree. I would say this too. This is probably a good rule of thumb. When you stay home those nights, keep yourself busy. It actually takes your mind off it. I'm assuming, man. Do something productive when you're at home and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm assuming like do things to keep your mind off it, because when you think more about things, like you don't even realize you're saving money. You're like, oh, I was doing something for all those hours. You didn't even realize that you missed going out or something like that. Just do things to keep your mind busy, keep your mind focused on different things that ultimately. But I like that, man. You avoid the temptation. Man, I've seen sometimes, man, when we go out, like, man, we go out somewhere, man, you like people order like a lot of food, man. Like you'll just order like one little thing, man, and you just, I will say, man, you have some really, really good willpower when it comes to.
I try. It's hard, but I try.
But it's probably also ingrained in you because you've been doing it for so long as well. When you start to do it for a while, I'm assuming it just something like second nature. Like you already realized that you have a long-term goal in mind. So like that you maybe spent some money during the week. You're like, okay, well, I don't really have the money to really afford to be really out here spending if I want to hit my savings goal this week. So I'll go out, I'll order something minimum, but I'm not going to order something really, really expensive.
All right. Yeah. I mean, get a Fire Stick, learn how to stream. What can I tell you?
There you go.
And by the way, I do not support illegal streaming, so I'm just putting that out there.
Are you sure about that, bro?
Keep it on the hush hush.
It's like, man, it's like, yo, it's like, whoa, you found this illegal streaming site, man. You want to offer any illegal streaming sites for everybody?
I'll tell you what, man, down the line when with the soundtrack. I'll tell you what, when you and George do a streaming podcast, I'll come on for that one. I'll show the people what they can do on the Fire Stick, where they can go to, and how they can watch all the sports and all the movies and all those good stuff.
People will be interested.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Well, that's how I am. I'm like, man, it's just like, I was like, you find these like random sites. I'm like, man.
I was like, yeah, I know exactly where to go, so I'm good.
Illegal streaming.
Bro, I'm going to get arrested tonight, aren't I? The police are going to randomly knock on my door, but like, Marius Raphael, you're arrested.
I can already imagine the look of your family's face. They'll be like,
stupid.
Yeah, I'm expecting you to bail me out, though, man. So you better not hop out on me, dude.
Man, I don't know. Might be running away. Nah, but
what?
Yeah.
All right, cool. It looks like I'll have to hit up George. Maybe he can leave his job early to bail me out.
Yeah, man, those are some solid saving tips, man. I kind of want to get into investment here as well as we kind of wrap up. We hit the 2 points of the credit and the savings. I know that you have some minimal knowledge when it comes to investment. It's very, very minimal. I know that. But maybe I can add some insight here. Just kind of, I just want to kind of talk about asset allocation. So saving and credit are important. Then we kind of get to the investment side. We talked a little bit in the episode 32, but not a ton. When it comes to asset allocation, I want to give you guys one rule. There is no optimal or perfect asset allocation. This ultimately, and take notes for this, guys, it ultimately depends on your risk tolerance. So you could either be risk tolerant or risk adverse. Risk tolerant means you're willing to take a little bit more risk in the result of a potential higher reward. So you're willing to invest in more risky things. So say like, there's a stock in like crypto is a good example, but crypto is a very, very volatile market. People won't invest more money because they think they're going to get a quick fix out of it. But listen to what I said there. You're investing more money for a potential higher reward. The key word there is potential, because there's no guarantee. It's volatile. You could lose all your money. You could cover 100% loss. That's why crypto is very, very dangerous, because you can lose all your money. But honestly, it depends on your risk tolerance. So if you're more risk adverse, that's more risk tolerant. You're willing to take high risk. Risk adverse means you're willing to invest, but you want to keep a little bit more conservative profile. There's less risky profiles, there's moderate profiles, and then there's high risk profiles. When you're more risk adverse, you're more willing to stay conservative, generate small returns, not high. You're probably not going to get any high rewards out of it, but you're going to generate steady rewards that aren't going to ever hit a 100% loss. So that would be more risk adverse. It depends on the type of investor. Some people have more money to spend. Some people have higher salaries. Some people have more savings in the bank that they can invest more. It all depends on how much money you make, how much you're willing to allocate towards your investments, and ultimately what your style is. I'll be honest. My profile, if I go from personal experience, I'm more of a moderate. I'm not really super conservative. I'm not super risk tolerant where like I try to get really risky with my profile. I honestly would say most of my profiles is comprised of a passive investment strategy because of the fact that I invest in index funds. Now, guys, an index fund, all it is it's a fund that is designed to mimic the composition and the performance of a financial market index. They have lower expense fees ultimately. And honestly, guys, if you have not learned about index funds, and it's crazy when I talk to most people about investments, man, personally, most people don't talk about index funds. When I say, hey, you invested in any index funds, they go, nah, I'm investing in stocks, or they're investing in crypto. It's like, it's always crypto. That's okay.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even know what an index fund was until when we were having coffee the one day. You like explained it to me in detail, and I was like, oh, well, this definitely looks something interesting.
So yeah, for sure. And this kind of goes off the patient strategy. Kind of as you said with saving, it's a patient, it's a long-term process. Index funds are designed to mimic a market. Finance 101, investing 101. You know, when I went to Temple University, Fox School of Business, you know, Philadelphia PA. But the thing about it is, you know, Temple doesn't really have classes. Most colleges do not have classes for personal finance. But even taking investment classes at the school, rule number one is to have a very diversified portfolio. The reason why is because, just think of it like this: if you put all your eggs in one basket, you know, say you have $5,000 to spend to invest. You invest $5,000 into one stock, or maybe stocks along the same line. They're in the same market. Say they're in the tech market. You're investing in Apple. You're investing in T-Mobile, whatever it is. You're investing in multiple stocks inside the same market. Say something happens to that market crashes, or it goes on, it declines. Guess what? All your money is in the same basket. Boom, it's going to plummet, which is why you need a diversified portfolio. You should have a little bit of everything. There's no optimal level. Like I said, it depends on your risk tolerance. If you're more risky, you're probably going to choose, and I'll talk about bonds and stocks and all that, but if you're more in terms of like maybe a risk, you're a risky investor, you like to you're more risk tolerant, you like to chase riskier options for maybe a potential higher reward. Say your profile might be 70% stocks, 20% bonds, 10% cash. I always like to keep a floor of like 10% cash just sitting in there, maybe not invested in anything, just sitting right there. And say I want to buy some other stocks or buy some other index funds. I like to keep a little floor. Say you're more moderate like me. You might have 50% stocks, 40% bonds, 10% cash. Say you're very, very conservative. You might have 60 to 70% bonds, 20 to 30% stocks, and 10% cash. Now, I kept the cash the same across all of them, but the reason why conservatives would have higher bonds is because bonds are essentially considered safer than stocks. The thing about bonds, you don't make a lot of money off of bonds. Specifically, if you want really, really safe bonds, treasury bonds. They're backed by the United States government. It doesn't get more safer than that. The potential returns are very, very small, but they're safe. They generate you small income here and there. Personally, I like to invest in index funds mainly because of the fact that, you know, say the buy-in's $350. All you do is you add money to that fund every single month. You know, if you have multiple funds, you add money to it. Maybe it's $20 for this one. Maybe it's $50 for this one. Maybe it's $100 for that one. You do that every month. You can literally figure out, say you do that for 30 years. Depending on how much you decide to invest, say you get a better job. Now, instead of investing 50 to 100 here, you're investing 500 here. The more it's compound interest, and the more money you invest in those funds, the more money you're going to make. You literally just let that sit there for 20, 30 years, maybe just 10 years. You, depending on how much you invest in these funds, you could literally be a multi-millionaire by the time you're in your 40s. And it's crazy. Like, that's why, like, the one thing I kick myself about is I wish I had started investing sooner. But people don't really talk about index funds. They're very, very low expense fees, which means you're not paying fees every year for these funds. Some mutual funds have high expense fees. You got to be careful. But they're very, very low expense fees. and you have a very, very slim chance of losing a 100% loss. As with other, like with stocks, you can easily lose a 100% loss. You definitely can. With index funds, it's very hard for that to happen because it's mimicking an entire market. So here, say like one of the ones I have, some of the top 3 right now are the Fidelity Zero Large Cap Index, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, and the Schwab S&P 500 Index Fund. So as you see with those names, S&P 500, you've heard of the S&P 500, you've heard of NASDAQ, you've heard of the Dow Jones. They're an entire market. Index funds mimic an entire market, which means basically an index fund, it's either a mutual fund or an ETF that is based on a preset basket of stocks in an index. So the beautiful thing about an index fund, it's multiple stocks. You see, it's covering multiple stocks across multiple indexes. Here's the great thing about that. What did I say at the beginning? Diversification. Everything's diversified. Why? Which is why you have such a small chance of losing everything. See, because everything's split, everything's spread out. So it's a very, very minimum. It's a very, very minimum loss. You're probably not going to lose 100%. It's very, very rare that happens. But if you just invest in one stock or 2 stocks, and it's like in the same company, I have some stocks, but I mainly choose to go after index funds because it's a whole market. That's the greatest thing about it. An ETF, by the way, is a exchange traded fund. Mutual funds, they operate a little bit differently. We can get more into that in detail on some other podcasts, but mainly my portfolio is kind of comprised of, I would say with crypto, I have about 5 to 10%. And I only invest in 2 different coins. I did not invest in Dogecoin. I used to have some Dogecoin I sold. I'm invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only 2 I have right now. It's a very, very small portion of my portfolio. Like I said, about 5 to 10%. Most of my, like I'd say about 50% of my portfolio is probably in index funds. One of them is the Vanguard, the VWO, the Vanguard. It's an emerging markets fund. So emerging markets, they take advantage of funds in emerging economies. So like across the world. That's a VWO. That's a Vanguard fund that I have. I have the Fidelity one is great too. The Fidelity Zero Cap Large Index, because there is literally like no expense fees at all. But it's crazy. Like I would say index funds. I have some bonds. Small crypto, and then probably cash. It's mainly my investment profile. But I would say 50% index funds. I'd say maybe 15 to 20% of my funds my portfolio is probably made up by bonds, and then 5 to 10% of crypto, 10% cash.
That's not bad.
It's diversified. You know what I mean? It's like I put money.
You have money in certain places, yeah. So that way, if something screws up, like you still have money coming in from other things. So that's very, very smart.
Yeah, definitely. And guys, I also want to talk about how there are different types of investment accounts. There are brokerage accounts, which you can get an account on Robinhood. You can open up a brokerage account. It's more for if you're investing, say for like a year or 2, and you want to make whatever you make on whatever the return you make from investing, you want to put towards maybe a down payment on a house. You can open up a brokerage account. If you're looking to save long term, you can open up an IRA. There's different types of IRAs as well. An IRA stands for, and I talked about this in episode 32, an individual retirement account. That's what an IRA stands for. There's traditional IRAs and there's a Roth IRA. The only difference is the tax advantage, like how you're taxed ultimately. A Roth IRA, I believe, under the age of 55, you can invest up to $6,000 a year in it. You can max it out at $6,000. If you're over 55, I believe it's $7,000. I want to say. But it's the differences. I've showed you. I have a traditional and a Roth IRA, actually, how I invest. But IRAs are more for the long term. If they're money that's going to kind of sit there and you don't want to touch it until you're 59 and a half years old, that's a retirement account. That's a long-term investment account. That's an account where you're not going to touch that money ultimately.
It'll come in handy when you retire, I'll tell you that.
Definitely, man. It's critical, and if you're going to invest more short term, you're going to open up a brokerage account, which is what a lot of people like to play with. They like to play with, like they want to invest in stocks and stuff and try to hit quick. You're usually not doing that in a retirement account. Retirement accounts are probably more considered. It depends. You can invest in anything for a retirement account, but it's long term. If you plan to take that money out before 59 and a half, plan to pay a big fee. I think it's like 10% of whatever you have. So you're going to pay a big chunk.
It's a penalty. Yeah.
Not advised. Not advised. So if you're just investing short term right now, go opt with a brokerage account. So that's and ultimately, like the only difference with like I said, the only difference with a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA is with a Roth, you're contributing after tax dollars and your money grows tax free ultimately. See, with a traditional IRA, you are contributing pre-tax dollars, but the bad thing about a traditional IRA is when you go to take that money out, you're taxed on it. You understand what I'm saying? It's the opposite.
Right.
A Roth IRA, you're contributing money that's already been taxed, but the benefit is you're not paying taxes when you withdraw. So you're not taxed on that money long term. I honestly prefer a Roth IRA, even though you can only max it out at $6,000. And I believe I forget what the how much money you have to be under to contribute to a Roth IRA. Let me see.
Or Roth account.
Yeah, it's like so Roth IRA. Okay, so your adjusted gross income for the year needs to be under $139,000. If you're in a certain tax bracket, you cannot contribute to a Roth. So say you're making $200,000 a year, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. Now, if say you had money in it before you started making that money, you're still entitled to whatever you put in before you started making that big payday. But then you're going to maybe go the route of a traditional IRA. See, with a Roth IRA, that's the one thing. If your adjusted gross income is under $139,000, you're okay. But if it's not, you can't contribute.
Yeah, I see that. That's the downsides.
Yeah, you can't contribute to a Roth in that way. Ultimately, that's the one bad thing. But it's still fun though. Like you can just open up a traditional IRA. Worst case scenario. Now there's different types of funds out there as well, guys. There's large cap funds when it comes to investing. There's mid cap funds, and there are small cap. The smaller cap, it's more for companies that are under $2 billion. Their market capitalization rate's under $2 billion. Mid cap indexes are more like what they're comprised of are stocks from companies that have a market capitalization rate of between 2 billion and 10 billion, and companies that are in the large cap index are more along the lines of companies that have a market capitalization rate of above $10 billion. How you can calculate what a company's market capitalization rate is just by dividing a property's net, whatever the company's net operating income is for the year, by the current market value of the company. All these things can be found on Yahoo Finance. You can literally find all these things out about a company, and it'll literally explain to you what that company's classified. So if the company's market capitalization is below 2 billion, they're in a small cap index. If they're between 2 and 10 billion, mid cap. Above 10 billion, large cap. All different types of funds. A lot of different things, but if there's anything you take away from today, guys, diversification. Diversification is critical. Depending on your risk tolerance, here's the risk curve. It goes up. This is the risk that you're taking. It goes up, and then the potential reward goes up. But as I said, potential. It's no guarantee. Stocks are riskier. It's obvious, but index funds can allow you to invest in the stocks and mimic an entire market. So you can do your research on that. There's so many different ways, but asset allocation is diversifying is the most critical thing.
Yeah, don't have your eggs in one basket, basically.
Yeah. Investing is not that hard, guys. I mean, you can hire a financial advisor if you want, but here's the thing. I mean, like realistically, we have so many tools at our disposal that you really don't need to hire a financial advisor. If it makes you feel more comfortable, feel free if you can afford it. Some financial advisors will try to rob you blind, so you just got to do your research. Maybe you have a friend of a friend, and maybe very, very reputable. But just be careful with financial advisors. That's all I'd say. I'm not saying financial advisors are a bad thing. I work in the finance field, to be quite honest. Financial advisors are not a bad thing. You know, if they make you feel safe, if you feel safer with a financial advisor managing your money, feel free. But all I advise you guys is I'm not a financial advisor, but from personal experience, just be very careful with financial advisors. I don't have one personally to manage my accounts. The personal rule of thumb to me is if you don't have a ton of money like wrapped up in investments, if you don't have a ton of money to manage, I don't really think it's really necessary to hire a financial advisor. But that's just me from personal experience. So do whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you really, but you know, there's so many YouTube videos and books you can read, and there's so many ways you can do your research with the internet that we have today, that I think you should be able to be comfortable managing your money on your own. But do your research. That's what I would say. Do your research, and if you still feel the need for a financial advisor, feel free to contact one. Just make sure you do your research on the financial advisor's reputation as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thanks for the information, man. I'll probably invest maybe in some index funds in the future or something like that, man. Get my feet a little wet, see what happens.
Yeah, man. Some of these funds start as low as $200. Just put that. Then that's just to open up the fund. Then you can contribute whatever you want to the fund every month. Simple. Once you actually buy the fund, then it's like, then you're just contributing. Stock market doesn't look like it did too well today, but
yeah, you were telling me earlier.
That's another critical thing, guys. We're young, right? You know, we're not retired. If you're young right now, you're a young professional. Say you're like our age. We're 28, both of us. People start to panic when you start to lose money in the stock market. If you know that company is going to bounce back, like it's a bank or something, or it's a reputable company, don't sell your stock. Wait, because what do we know from history? That the market always bounces back. If you're young and you got time, don't sell your stock. Now, I understand people that are older. It's not for everybody, but this tends to be the norm. People who are older and investors, say they're in their 60s, they're a little bit more conservative than somebody who's investing in their 20s. Because guess why? They're more towards the end of their life. They're near retirement. They don't want to lose what they have in there. They don't want to wait for the time for the market to rebound and bounce back up. You know what I mean? They're more conservative with their money because they're older. If you're younger, don't sell when the market's low. Wait till that stock bounces back up and then sell. I always see people panic. They're like, "Oh, I sold because it got so low." If it's a reputable company, you know it's going to bounce back. Last year, I actually took advantage a lot. When COVID hit, a lot of stocks plummeted. And guess what? The prices were super low. I bought. And guess what? I'll give you a perfect example. I bought a bunch of shares of Discover Financial Services last year. Right now, they're selling at $125. You want to know what I bought them at last year?
If I had to guess, $40.
Yeah, lower than that, man.
I think I'd say 20.
Yeah, around that, about $21.
Wow.
And so every one I bought, I made like $104 on. Every single one. If you bought 10 in that, man, you made over $1,000. I'm not gonna say how many I bought, but man, like just all of them. I bought Starbucks when it dropped to like 80. It's at 114 right now. Bank of America is roughly the same. No, it doubled. I bought Bank of America at about, I think it was like 18. Now it's at 40. So bought a few of them. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, what about what's Amazon doing? I know they're like really big in the market.
Yeah, Amazon, of course. If you can afford Amazon, I mean, I could afford Amazon, but let's see. I don't know how much I have. Yeah, Amazon's selling at about $3,186 right now. And I will tell you, if you actually look at the historicals, Amazon was selling at about, what was it, like $1,800 last year at the beginning of COVID, and it went up about, it practically doubled. So if you had bought Amazon stock and say you bought 10 of them, you would have made 16 G's about.
Wow. Damn, this is definitely something I want to look into. Shit, if I want to save my money, I might as well invest it properly.
Yeah, man, it's just like see, stocks can that, but see, nobody ever knows. But I knew when COVID hit that the market was going to bounce back. That's a guarantee. You know, Discover's not going out of business. I'm like, Bank of America's not going out of business. Starbucks is a popular chain. Starbucks isn't going out of business. I'm like, these are places these are reputable companies that are going to bounce back once COVID is obviously still here. I don't want to make any jokes about how COVID ain't serious or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just saying, you knew COVID, we were going to bounce back a little bit, and look what happens.
Yeah, we went through a rough patch, and now things are, slowly starting to climb back up a little bit.
Yeah, they are, man. Hey, we're slowly but surely getting there. But ultimately, guys, that's mainly, we'll go even more in depth. We'll probably have like 5 parts of this series. But I have a couple of friends who actually work for investment firms that'll probably come in. They'll talk a little bit more. But that's basically how kind of you capitalize in tough times. I capitalized when things got tough, and a lot of people started to do that. I actually wish I had gotten in on Boeing, Boeing the jets. I actually wish I had gotten into it because I had heard big things, and then like 3 days later, they kind of bounced the stock price bounced back up. I was trying to get into Boeing, and I waited a little bit too long. I was like, damn. But they had dropped significant at one point, and I waited 3 days too long to kind of get in there. I was like, damn. But the more see how that compounds though. If you make $100 on each stock that went up, if you buy more of them, it's like, there you go. Now your 200 has become 1,200. You made $1,000 on them.
Yeah. That is interesting. Wow.
Yeah, say for instance, Discover was at 21 last year. I say I bought 10 of them, 10 $21 shares at $210. And now it's sitting at $125. Now what's that? $1,250. So that $210, I just made $1,040 on.
Right, and that's if you were going to sell today, right?
Yeah, sell today, or you could hold and wait. You think it's going to go up more? Boom. And all you got to do is you look at the trend. So you look at the chart. So if I'm looking at Amazon, a year ago was sitting at. Amazon's not even sitting at its highest right now. Amazon was also sitting at 3,700. Now it's down to 3,200. So Amazon, Amazon has dipped big time. So since July, it was sitting at $1,744. Now it's down to 3,200. See, not everybody knows that it was going to drop. See what I'm saying? So if you would have sold, you would have kept an extra $500 per share.
And so sometimes you just have to kind of get a little bit lucky and know when to sell.
Yeah, I don't care. Wolf of Wall Street, I know it's a movie, but it's perfect his saying, Matthew McConaughey, I don't care if you're Jimmy Buffett or Warren Buffett. Nobody knows if the stock's going to go up, down. He's like, it's a Fugazi. For real, nobody knows what the market's going to do. They got these financial advisors that'll come in. They'll be like, oh, we know a new stock. We know this. The market's going to do this. And even if somebody has hit on the market one year, maybe they were perfect. Maybe their prediction was 85% accurate. You're like, wow, that guy knows what he's talking about. The odds of that person predicting the stock market doing the same thing the next year, slim to none. Because guess what? They got lucky. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, there's no possible way that you could possibly perfectly predict the market. It's
unpredictable. Nobody can predict the market. That's why luck plays into a factor. Like last year, who the hell saw COVID coming? Everything went down, and then look, everything's up, and now things are a little bit down again. So it fluctuates.
That's why it depends on your risk tolerance. It just depends how much. Everything's a risk. Everything's a gamble. If you're less risk averse, that's why index funds are such a passive strategy. You literally just throw money into it each month, and guess what? The index fund mirrors the average of the stock market. What does the average of the stock market do? Slowly but surely, it inclines. It inclines, not declines. It goes up slowly but surely. That's why index funds are such a passive strategy. Throw money into it each month. Boom, let it sit. Throw money every single month. Boom, just continue. That's what I would say. Stay consistent. Throw money each month and stay consistent. Boom. You could be a millionaire without even knowing it. And if you get really good with it and you just start automating your money, you don't even notice it's going anywhere.
No, I'm definitely taking a look into this.
For sure, man. Well, man, we've gone on an hour and a half here. I think we offer a lot of
I didn't even realize we were at an hour and a half. Holy crap!
No, we're having too much fun on here, man. But a lot of insight, man. I appreciate you coming to the table today, man, with the savings strategies, man, and just.
I appreciate it, bro. I definitely look for, if you need me to come on any other episodes, man, just feel free to reach out. I enjoy coming on here. I enjoy, providing insight, and I enjoy, entertaining the fans. So let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you dropping your insight on the saving strategies. I hope I can teach you some things with the investment side of it. But
absolutely.
Man, that's ultimately what it is, guys. Shout out to last week's episode. We didn't have any guests on, but the great Georgie Mentai with his little comedy show act. With his little comedy show act. George unfortunately wasn't in the building today, so
It's all right. I'm sure he'll be here next week, so you guys won't be missing him for too long.
Nah, he'll be back in the building. We actually got a really so we were supposed to have a guest this week. Actually, well, I mean, you're a guest this week, but we were supposed to actually go a different little route. But unfortunately, my one boy wasn't feeling too well. He's feeling a little bit sick, so down a little bit under the weather. So he will be postponed until next week. Got a good topic. Just wait till the promotion. It's not going to really announce it here live, but it's going to be something new. It's going to be something cool. Definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm glad to be able to collab again, man. It's been, I think, since what, the Sixers episode?
Yeah, the Justin Jackson episode.
Justin Jackson, wink, wink. But yeah, man, wow, that was before the Sixers were out of the playoffs too.
Yeah, I think they had just gotten. I think they had just got eliminated that week. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they got eliminated that Sunday. We went on the air that Thursday.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were kind of planning a little Eastern Conference Finals episode, like the getting ready for the Sixers, but unfortunately they got eliminated. I don't even want to talk about that.
Nah, that's the basketball's got a long way to go. The Eagles, I think, they're going to be football season's right around the corner, so we got a long way to go before the Sixers even start.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of people are probably watching the Eagles right now. Actually, we're going to sign off in just a minute. Let me check what the score is, guys.
Yeah, they're playing the Patriots, right?
Yeah, let's see. Yep, they are. 19-0 New England.
I can see they're off to a good start.
19-0. Jeez.
Oh,
What are the over and under of the quarterback throwing 3 more interceptions tonight?
I don't know.
how's everyone doing?
Make some noise.
Let's make some noise. Come on.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Well, they better score some damn points if they want to make some noise.
You're dreaming, bro.
I'm like, I get it's a preseason game, but goddamn, bro, you don't want to get shut out.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna shut out. I was actually at the game, guys, last week for the Steelers. Unfortunately, I was there with a freaking Steelers fan. Probably watching right now. But I thought they were gonna shut up the Steelers, and the Steelers came back and beat us. So I don't even know. But yeah, I think tonight was a great episode, man. I'm glad we were able to hit on all those points. Guys, stay tuned in the near future. A couple good friends of mine, very, very experienced in the investment field, are going to come in, and then we are eventually going to get into real estate investing. I know that's what a lot of people have talked about. I've heard from people like personal DMs. Real estate investing is a big topic. I don't want to speak on it personally myself because I have knowledge on real estate investing. However, I do not have personal experience with real estate investing. This actually upcoming year, I'm going to keep it under wraps right now, but I am kind of planning to get into real estate investing. So once I have more experience, I can talk more on it. I have a lot of knowledge from listening to a lot of podcasts on it, doing my homework, but I don't have personal experience. That's why I would like to bring a good friend of mine in who has that experience. They can personally talk to you about real estate investing very much in depth. But I think we had a great episode tonight, man. Again, I appreciate you coming on, bro, as always.
Thank you for the invite, brother. I appreciate it, man. This was a great episode. Hope to, I look forward to coming back on again, man.
No problem, man. Any last closing comments before we end tonight?
No, I appreciate the invite. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Shout out to the Locked In Nation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And too long, man. See you guys next time.
Yeah, man. Have a great night, my brother. To everybody else out there, have a great weekend. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your summer as we kind of wrap up the last few weeks of summer. Even into September. Enjoy the nice weather, guys. Take advantage and stay tuned. We're actually going to have an end of summer giveaway kind of coming soon. I'll keep you guys posted with the details there. But everybody, have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
All right. Bye. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.
Take care.